Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
We are your hosts, and today we are diving into Chapter 243, Trial.
And what a title, because I was thinking, okay, they've been branded as criminals. What happens now? A chase scene? Do they get thrown in cloud jail? And Oda just answers with, nope, I'm going to have a giant shrimp repo the entire ship with half the crew on it.
The sheer bluntness of it was something to behold. One moment they're planning their next move, still processing the shock of being labeled as heretics. The next, their home is being physically dragged away to a sacrificial altar. It's not an elegant or subtle display of power. It's brute force.
A sacrificial altar. It's not a trial. It's a consequence that has already been decided. The verdict is in before the crime has even been fully explained. If you get dragged into this, it feels like we're already past the point of no return. We're on this wild ride with the Straw Hats, and if you want to get dragged along with us for every chapter, make sure your feed is subscribed so you never miss an episode.
Let's begin at the start of the chapter. The crew is processing the new reality. They are first-class criminals in Skypiea. That's a huge jump from their previous status as mere illegal immigrants.
And the vibe is super tense, man. You can feel it coming off the page. Usopp is freaking out. Nami's calculations are all turning to smoke in her head. Even Sanji looks concerned. Everyone is reeling. Except, of course, for one Monkey D. Luffy. He's just sitting there with this look on his face. It's pure, unadulterated so what? Like he was just told the price of cabbage went up.
It's a complete disconnect from the reality the Skypeans are presenting. Pagaya and Comus deliver this news with the weight of a death sentence. They can't help anymore. Their body language, the fear in their eyes, it's palpable. They're terrified, and you can see the genuine regret. They truly liked the Straw Hats, but in this society, the social contract is absolute. You do not cross God. It's not a question of bravery, it's a fundamental law of their existence, like gravity.
Exactly. It's like telling a fish not to swim. For them, opposing God is just impossible. It doesn't compute. And Luffy's brain just does not have the software to process that kind of thinking. He hears, all-powerful God wants to kill us, and he just translates it to new guy to punch. But you gotta feel for Pagaya and Comus. They're good people caught in a terrible system.
The system is the key. In the Blue Sea, authority, even the world governments, has limits. There are islands they don't control, vast oceans to hide in. Here, the authority seems omnipresent. Enel's judgment is described as something that can strike from anywhere at any time. For Pagaya, helping the Straw Hats isn't just risking a prison sentence, it's risking divine annihilation for himself and his daughter.
Which is totally understandable. These people live under a system of absolute immediate judgment. You step out of line and a pillar of light erases you. We saw it happen. But Luffy just calms everyone down with, we're used to being chased. And he's right. That's the core of it. For him, this is just a change of venue. The enemy has a different name, a different hat, but the game is the same.
It is a profound statement on what it means to be a pirate in the One Piece world. For the citizens of Skypiea, being a criminal is the end of your life as you know it. It's a state of excommunication from society. For Luffy, it is his life. He has never not been a criminal since he set out to sea. His very existence, his dream, is a criminal act in the eyes of the world's highest authority. This is simply a Tuesday for him.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Being a criminal is the proof of concept for being a free man in his world. And speaking of being a free man, he immediately starts exercising that freedom by making the most insane choice possible. We get right into the classic Luffy versus Nami dynamic. Luffy's internal compass, his soul, is pointing straight at Upper Yard, the forbidden, super dangerous Holy Land.
And Nami, the voice of reason and the crew's actual navigator, is pointing out that they are literally being hunted by the divine ruler of this entire nation. Perhaps marching up to his front door, ringing the bell and announcing their presence is not the wisest course of action.
She is making so much sense. She is saying all the right things. She's the audience surrogate, the one person yelling, "Don't go in the scary basement." But we all know, and I think deep down she knows, it doesn't matter. When Luffy decides something, the world bends around him, not the other way around. He's a gravitational force, and the rest of the crew are the planets in his orbit.
She has to try, though. It's her role. She is the guardian of their survival. Luffy is the engine of their dreams, but Nami is the one making sure the ship doesn't sink before they get there. The tension between those two roles is a constant source of conflict and comedy for the crew.
It's a perfect dynamic. It's the heart versus the brain. And just as the argument is heating up, a third party enters the ring to break the tie. It's a force of nature, which is when Zoro, of all people, cuts in with the most practical question of the day.
He lets them have their debate, this philosophical tug-of-war between ambition and caution, and then he just slices right through the middle of it.
My man just goes, okay, cool argument. How do we get home? I love it. Zoro is the guy who, in the middle of a burning building, will ask where the fire exit is. He's not panicking. He's not arguing about who started the fire. He's just assessing the immediate physical obstacle to his continued existence.
He grounds the conversation. It's not about whether they should go to Upper Yard or run away. Those are secondary concerns. The primary objective for any pirate crew, or any living organism for that matter, is survival and the continuation of the journey. Can they even return to the Blue Sea? It's a question no one else had stopped to ask yet. They were so caught up in the immediate threat that they forgot about the larger one, being trapped 10,000 meters in the sky.
He's a problem solver, a very direct, often violent problem solver. If the problem is we're stuck, his first thought is find the unstuck button. It's beautiful in its simplicity.
And this is where Oda presents a genuine narrative fork in the road. Konis gives them an out. She says there's a way. They don't have to confront God. They can go back down to the White Sea, sail toward the Cloud's End. It's an escape route. Oda dangles it right in front of them, and for a moment you think, maybe Nami will win this one.
You can see the hope in Nami's eyes. She's like, yes, an off-ramp, a logical, sensible plan. This is her dream scenario.
The Cloud's End. That phrasing is very deliberate. It sounds like something from a fairy tale, not a nautical chart. It implies a journey that is just as uncertain, just as fantastical as heading to Upper Yard. It reminds me of the tales sailors in the Blue Sea tell of the end of the world. It's a mythic destination.
Oh, for sure. It's not going to be an easy ride. It's probably guarded by some other crazy sky monsters or involves flying through a lightning storm. But it's the safe option, or the safer option, the one that doesn't involve walking into the lion's den on purpose. So, of course, Luffy, having heard all the available information and weighed the pros and cons, immediately ignores it and starts asking for bento boxes for the trip to Upper Yard.
The decision has been made. The debate is over before it truly began. Nami is protesting, shouting, but you can see the resignation in everyone else. This is how the Straw Hat Pirates operate. The captain sets the destination, no matter how insane. It's not a vote, it's a declaration.
It's not a democracy, it's a monarchy, and the king is a man made of rubber with a stomach for a brain. And speaking of which, Sanji gets to work on the food, Usopp starts gathering tools to repair the Mary. It's a moment of calm. They're preparing. They've accepted the captain's insane order, and now they're falling back into their roles.
A very deliberate moment of calm. Oda is a master of pacing, and this is a perfect example. He establishes their routine, their roles on the ship. Sanji provides sustenance and morale. Usopp provides maintenance and weaponry. It's their baseline state of being. It makes what happens next all the more jarring and invasive.
Because the routine is shattered. They're just standing there on the Cloud Beach, planning their assault on Heaven, and suddenly the Going Merry starts moving, against their will, without a sound. It just drifts away.
It's being dragged, and the culprit is not a Southbird, which we saw before, but this is a different kind of creature, a giant armored shrimp. The panel reveal is fantastic. You see this massive, strange crustacean latched onto the Mary's keel.
A giant express shrimp. What a name. It's just latched onto the Mary and is towing it away at high speed. It's like the world's weirdest tow truck. And it's not alone. It's got a whole escort of sea monsters. This isn't a random attack. This is an organized operation, a divine repo service.
And this is where the chapter's titled Trial begins to make terrifying sense. This isn't an arrest. This is a seizure of assets, a foreclosure. And the assets in this case include 4 members of their crew.
The 4 on the ship, Nami, Zoro, Chopper, and you, Robin, you're on the boat. You're all just getting yoinked. The sheer powerlessness of that moment. Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp are left on the shore completely helpless. You can't fight a tow rope. Zoro can't cut the ocean. It's a problem that can't be solved with fists.
It's a perfect illustration of the power of this regime. They don't need to defeat you in combat, at least not at first. They can just remove you. They can take your home, your friends, and drag them to a place where you can't reach them. It's a logistical victory for them, not a military one.
The panic from Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp is so real. It's pure, visceral terror. They're screaming, trying to get to the ship, but it's too late. It's moving too fast. They've been separated. This happens a lot in One Piece, the crew getting spilled up, but this felt different, more violating. The Mary is their home. It's like watching someone drag your house down the street with half your family still inside.
It's a classic tactic employed by authoritarian powers throughout history. Isolate and divide. And Pagaya's explanation makes it all the more chilling. He's seen this before. This is standard procedure.
He explains this is how it works. This is the ordeal. They take the ship and the people on it hostage. They're being taken to the sacrificial altar in Upper Yard. The way he says it is so matter-of-fact. It's horrifying.
Again, that word, sacrifice. This isn't a court of law with due process. This is a temple. This is religious persecution in its most literal form. And the ones left behind, Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp, are the ones who have to undergo the ordeal to save them.
So the choice of whether or not to go to Upper Yard has been made for them. Luffy was going to go anyway, just for the hell of it, for the adventure. But now he has to. His friends, his Nakana, are on the line. Oda just completely flipped the stakes of the entire arc in a single moment. It went from a fun adventure story to a desperate rescue mission.
It's a very effective narrative device. It removes the debate between Nami and Luffy and forces the protagonist onto the path the story needs them to take. But it does so in a way that feels like the villains are in complete control. NL didn't just challenge them, he dictated the terms of the conflict before it even began. He chose the battlefield, the objective, and the participants.
It's brilliant! It's not just the bad guys have the princess in the castle, it's the bad guys have your car, your house, and half your family. And if you want them back, you have to play a game where they make all the rules. It's an abduction, a hostage situation framed as a divine test. The arrogance is off the charts.
And Pagaya explains the game. There's a specific path to Upper Yard for those who wish to undergo the trial. You have to ride a special cloudy path up to the sacrificial altar. It's a path for the accused. But he warns them, it's not just some empty wilderness up there.
This is where we get the big lore drop for the arc, the structure of the enemy forces. Upper Yard is guarded by priests, and not just any priests. Pagaya says they're quite strong, and his face tells you that's the understatement of the century. And beyond them, at the very top of the pyramid,
resides God himself, God Enel.
Chills. Just hearing the name spoken like that. It's the first time we hear it. We finally have a name for the big bad of this arc, Enel. And he's not just a king or a pirate captain like Crocodile or Krieg, he's a god, or at least everyone here believes he is, and his power seems to back it up.
The power structure is becoming clearer, and it is a classic theocracy. Enel is at the top, the object of worship and fear. Beneath him are these priests, who I assume act as his enforcers, his angels of death, and the gatekeepers of this trial. It implies a hierarchy of power we will have to see them ascend.
It's a classic dungeon crawl setup. I love it. Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp are the party, and they have to fight their way through the lieutenants to get to the final boss. Oda is laying out the roadmap for the rest of Skypiea, and I am so ready for it. Bring on the boss rush.
What's interesting to me is the specific nature of the trial. It's a rescue mission. The goal isn't to defeat Enel, not yet. The stated goal, from our hero's perspective, is to save their friends who are being offered as sacrifices. This reframes Luffy's motivation entirely.
It makes it so much more personal. Luffy isn't going to Upper Yard for treasure or adventure anymore. I mean, he'll probably still look for gold, but that's not the reason. He's going there to get his crew back. And we've seen what happens when you mess with his crew.
We have, from Arlong, who made Nami cry, to Crocodile, who endangered Vivi and her entire country. Threatening his friends is the one sure way to get his full, undivided, and terrifying attention. Enel thinks he's setting a trap, but he has actually just rung the dinner bell for a monster.
And now the rescue squad is Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp. What a team. You've got the monster captain, the strategic fighter chef, and the brilliant resourceful sniper. They each bring something totally different to the table.
It's a well-balanced team for this kind of mission. You have Luffy, the spearhead, the pure brute force to break through obstacles. You have Sanji, the tactical mind who can analyze a situation and strike with precision. And you have Usopp, the wild card, providing long-range support and ingenuity. They complement each other well.
I can't wait to see how they tackle this. The dynamic between those three is always gold. Sanji trying to be the cool-headed one, Luffy just wanting to punch the problem, and Usopp screaming in terror while somehow coming up with a genius plan that saves the day. It's the perfect combination of chaos, strategy, and cowardice.
It leaves the other four of us in a very passive position for now. We are hostages. Cargo. I can't imagine Zoro is taking that particularly well.
Oh, he is absolutely losing his mind on that ship right now. I can picture it perfectly. He's probably trying to cut the giant shrimp, the ropes, the water itself. Nami is panicking, calculating the speed and trajectory, trying to find a weak point. Chopper is crying, terrified for everyone, and you're just taking notes probably.
It is an opportunity to observe. We're being taken directly into the heart of the enemy's territory, past whatever initial defenses they have. It would be a waste not to pay attention to the details on the way. One can learn a great deal by being a prisoner, sometimes more than you would as an invader.
That is the most Robin answer you could have possibly given. I love it. But okay, so Pagaya gives them the warning. He tells them about the priests, about Enel. He's scared for them. He's seen countless others take this trial and never return. He knows what lies ahead.
This whole system, this trial, is designed to be a spectacle of despair. It's not just about punishment. It's propaganda. It's meant to show the populace that resistance is futile. You either submit to the will of God or your loved ones are sacrificed while you fail a divine test in front of everyone. It reinforces the idea that Enel's power is absolute and his judgment is inescapable.
It's psychological warfare. That's a great point. It's not enough to just eliminate your enemies. You have to make an example of them. You have to turn their punishment into a parable for everyone else. It keeps the rest of the sheep in line.
And now the Straw Hats, who have defied authority at every turn, who embody the very concept of uncontrollable freedom, have been unwillingly cast as the lead actors in this parable. Enel is trying to make a point to his people, using them as his tools.
Big mistake. Huge. You don't use Luffy as a tool. He's not a wrench. He's a wrecking ball. You just lit a fuse on a rubber stick of dynamite, and it's headed straight for your front door. The chapter ends there, with the crew split and the mission laid out. The board is set. The trial is about to begin.
Which brings us to Oda's author comment for the week. He says, "Sometimes I really yearn to be a salaryman. Get chewed out by the section chief, drown my sorrows in sake on the way home, and wear a suit to work every day. But with rush hour, hell no."
I feel that's so hard. The fantasy of a simple, structured life, right up until you remember the reality of the daily grind. It's hilarious to think of Oda, the creator of this wild world of absolute freedom and adventure, daydreaming about being yelled at by a middle manager. It's so human.
It's a reminder that even the most creative minds sometimes crave the opposite of what they do. The burden of infinite choice can be exhausting. The grass is always greener, but ultimately he knows which world he belongs in. He can't handle the rush hour commute.
And thank goodness for that, because we wouldn't have this story otherwise. What a chapter to set the stage. All the pieces are in place now. We know the villain, we know the stakes, we know the objective. The game board is set. The pieces are in motion.
The stakes have been clearly defined. It's no longer just about exploring a sky island or searching for a city of gold. It's about life and death and the rescue of their family.
This is where Skypiea really kicks into high gear for me. The adventure part, the discovery, that was all super. But now it's a war. It's a classic Straw Hat rescue arc, and those are always my favorite.
The trial is laid out before Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp. There's a path they're supposed to take, this special road. But this is the Straw Hats we're talking about. I wonder what their first move is going to be. Do they play by the rules Enel has set, or do they immediately try to break the game?
All right, let's get into predictions for chapter 244. I'll go first. My first one is that the rescue team, Luffy, Sanji, Usopp, are absolutely not going to take the nice, neat path they were shown. That's the path of the accused. That's playing by Enel's rules. Luffy's going to find a more direct, probably dumber, and much faster way up. I'm thinking he just tries to Gomu Gomu no Rocket himself up there somehow, with Sanji and Usopp hanging on for dear life.
That seems likely. My first prediction is that we will get our first glimpse of Upper Yard, and it will be revealed as the other half of Jaya, the part that was knocked up into the sky centuries ago. We'll see ruins that don't match the Skypiea aesthetic, something ancient and made of stone covered in verth. It will be the proof that Noland wasn't a liar.
Ooh, I like that. That connects everything back together. It's not just a random sky island, it's a piece of history, a lost part of the Blue Sea. Okay, for my second prediction, we're going to meet one of the priests. The chapter will open with the hostage crew arriving at the sacrificial altar, and one of Enel's top guys will be there. It'll be our first taste of the enemy's power and personality, and I bet he has a super weird laugh.
A good way to establish a threat. My second prediction focuses on Conus. She feels an immense amount of guilt for what happened. She brought them here, and they were immediately condemned. I predict she and Pagaya will find a way to help the Straw Hats from the shadows. Maybe they create a distraction on Angel Island to draw attention away from Upper Yard, or provide them with a map of Upper Yard that shows a secret route. They won't let them go into this alone. Their conscience won't allow it.
That'd be awesome. They need a local ally. For my last prediction, I think the trial itself is going to have a weird theme. Like Pagaya called it a trial, and I imagine the priests will have some grand name for it, like the ordeal. I bet we'll get something like the ordeal of swamp, the ordeal of iron, the ordeal of string, the ordeal of balls, something very specific and strange. It won't just be a straightforward fight. It'll be a series of themed challenges.
Tying into that, my final prediction is that the trial is a broadcast. The entire ordeal is being shown or somehow relayed to the citizens of Angel Island as a deterrent, perhaps through sound dials or some other Skypiea technology. Enel isn't just punishing them. He's making a televised show of their struggle to reinforce his own divinity and control. We might see shots of the Skypieans watching in fear as Luffy and the others begin their ascent.